The meeting is called to order of the Marquette City Commission on Monday, March 25th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, may I have roll call?
Commissioner Larson?
Here.
Commissioner Mayer?
Here.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Here.
Commissioner Schlegel?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hanley?
Here.
And Mayor Davis?
Here. Thank you. Commissioners, we have an agenda in front of us. I'm looking for a motion. Commissioner Larson.
I move to present the, to accept the agenda as presented.
Okay, second. Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Discussion? No? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. I have no announcements for this evening, so we can move on to the appointment for committee, and I'm looking for a motion. Commissioner Ottaway.
I move to appoint Robbie Marceline to the Board of Review for an unexpired term ending 2/1/27.
And a second. Commissioner Schlegel.
It's second motion.
Okay, comments?
No, none at all.
Schlegel?
Thank you for serving, Robbie.
Okay, anyone else? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. And we will now open it up for public comments. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and physical address when making the public comment, and when you choose to do so, please step up to the podium.
Hello. Hi. My name is Lisa Yankee, and live at 808 South Lake Street here in Marquette, across from South Beach. Sorry, I need glasses. Our neighborhood LLC has been working with the Board of Light and Power, with Spectrum, with Peninsula Fiber Network, which is the 911 system, and the City of Marquette to remove the unsightly overhead lines and the obtrusive poles in front of our homes on South Lake Street. What is needed from the city is a timely response regarding the fiber optic lines from the pumping station at Lakeshore Boulevard and the Barriga Street to the water treatment plant near the Carp River. It's my understanding that this project, which benefits the entire city, was to be done in 2026 and will certainly be more cost effective to do this project when the BLP is completing our Lake Street project. We would like to ask the city to fund that portion of the project. Our Lake Street LLC, which is comprised of 30 of the 48 neighbors on our street, have raised about $150,000. This is for the BLP portion and the PFN portions of the job. Spectrum is bearing their own lines at no cost to the city or its citizens, which in my opinion, which is what PFN should be doing as well. PFN should not be charging the citizens on Lake Street to move and improve the fiber optic lines, which benefits more than just us. But we are asking for decisions to be made in a timely manner. If we delay much longer, the price will most assuredly go up. We're under a deadline and we need to get our portion of the funds to the BLP. We've been in touch with the city manager and the mayor, and they have been gracious enough to attend our evening meetings, so they're after their hours, to answer questions, provide information, and offer suggestions. Thank you very much for your time. Another neighbor is going to be speaking to more of the details and the history of our project. Thank you, Karen and Sally, and thank you, commissioners. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm just recognizing that I can't tell where the little lights are. So I'm just going to count on someone else to figure that out. Where are they at? I don't know.
I think it was running, but I didn't. They fell down?
No, you were fine, Tim.
It's right in front?
I can see the link.
Okay, so somebody, well,
Got you, behind your.
there we go. That's very helpful. Okay, go ahead.
Kerry Gottlieb, 1076 South Lake Street. There's a lot of information in what I'm about to say, in 3 minutes to say it, and I will be speaking fast, and I hate public speaking, so forgive me ahead of time. I've given a summary sheet to the clerk for you to read, given some of the same information, and I'm going to be repeating some of what Ms. Yankee just said. I am one of the organizers of the Lake Street Association, an LLC formed to facilitate the removal of power poles and all above ground power and information lines on Lake Street. This project was spurred in 2021 by the BLP, who planned on a line and pole replacement on Lake Street, but said they would remove and bury all power lines if the Lake Street residents would pay any cost above replacement. We raised $150,000 to bury or move the BLP lines and a 911 line. Spectrum Cable said they'd remove their line at no additional cost to the LLC, as we were paying for the boring. But lastly, there is a city fiber optic line on the pole right now. In 2021, we were told the city would not charge us to bury its line. Sadly, I didn't record the name of the employee who said that. We are now ready to go with the BLP, but the city is now uncertain about not passing that cost on. We were told the city line is scheduled for replacement in 2026, but we are hoping the city will take advantage of the boring we, the LLC, are paying for or move its line to US 41. What we don't want is a line removal special assessment to be borne by Lake Street residents or any single group, as that likely will stop our project. We had numerous LLC members say, one, they will withdraw their financial support from the project as they believe the city line benefits all residents and we should not be singled out. Two, the city is scheduled to replace it anyway and we are offering a way to lessen that cost of the city. Three, doing it now will save money as the city will be spared the cost of pole maintenance and replacements, which will fall to it if it is the last entity on the poles. And four, the line will be safer underground. Further, there are some Lake Street residents who have expressed anger to me because of the special assessment that is being considered would be perceived as a new tax on them. Lastly, the city would require you, the city commission, to approve a special assessment for which there is no guarantee or time frame for you to do so. We are told by the BLP any delay will likely cause our costs to go up, and I know for sure we cannot raise any more money from the Lake Street residents. The BLP and Lake Street Association would like to start this project now, and I'm asking you to allow the city manager to work with us and the BLP to move or bury this line at no additional cost or special assessment being made to Lake Street residents or any entity impacted. Thank you. I have 19 seconds to answer questions, and I have the answer.
We do not answer, we do not respond to public comments. Usually we have comment at the end of the meeting when we have commissioner comments, so thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Brooke Tharp. I live at 1402 Woodland Avenue in Marquette. I work with individuals experiencing homelessness, and I'm here to urge you to increase the amount of affordable housing in the community. And I think that can be done in a variety of ways, and I know that there's a lot of planning being done regionally for that, but I think that the Upper Peninsula is going to become a place where a lot of people come due to climate change as water levels are rising, so I think we have to prepare for that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street, and this is the first time I'm talking with props, so wish me luck. First of all, I recently completed a class from Michigan State University, an online class about inland lakes. And the Michigan State University has extensive extension courses, and I thought I would take advantage of the head of the Presque Isle Committee, head of the Presque Isle Committee being here tonight to let you know I figured out a way to save 1/3 on your costs of refoliating the parks. Because one of the suggestions they had was a whole unit on shoreline, and people want to make their lawns manicured all the way down to the lake, and that's the worst possible thing you can do. And I love Presque Isle, everybody knows that, but that's pretty much how Presque Isle is set up, with these beautiful lawns manicured all the way down to the lakefront. One of the worst things about that is it's a great environment for geese. First of all, they love grass. Second of all, it's safe for them and their babies because they can see predators approach. And that's one of the reasons why we have a goose disposal problem on Presque Isle, is it's just grass is made for geese. The suggestion that came from the class, and I checked it out today, I went to Merseydotes because there's people there that will actually help you, is that I did a little comparison shopping. This is a 2-pound bag of grass, $10.49 or $5.25 a pound. The coverage of this is 1 pound equals 200 square feet. So to cover 1,000 square feet of grass, excuse me, of dirt, with this grass takes 5 pounds of grass seed. Whereas this clover, 1 pound, costs $6.99. 1/2 pound of clover covers 1,000 square feet of dirt. 1/2 pound. And you don't have to believe me, the people at Michigan State, you can look on the web, clover is like the best food you can get for a lawn. First of all, it puts nitrogen back in there. Second of all, it's the best foliage for pollinators. Third of all, it is natural in that it doesn't require mowing as much. So my idea is that you switch from all grass to at least half grass, half clover, and see, you should be able to realize a 3.75 times less expense if you switch to clover. Plus, you should see a reduction in the amount of goose waste. Plus, you should see a more healthy environment right next to the lake. So I'm encouraging the Presque Isle Committee and this commission and the city manager who understands money, which is why I have these sheets for you, to look into replacing some of the grass seed, at least with clover, and seeing if we can make a dent in the improving the ecology of our parks. Thank you very much. I don't know what happened to the microphone.
Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no volunteers, I will close the public comment, and we will move on to our presentation. Tonight, we have a presentation from the Presque Isle Park Advisory Committee by Dan LaBarre. Dan, if you could step up to the podium.
Hello, I'm Dan LaBarre, Vice Chair of the Presque Isle Park Advisory Committee. We had a full committee this year. We do have some folks who are terming out as of April 1st, so we should have some openings on the committee after April. Our purpose and goals. The committee was established in November of 1993 to advise the City Commission as follows. 1, to review and develop recommendations impacting the island. 2, to study the vitality of ecosystems on Presque Isle. And we've proposed a change to number 3. It had been recruit and organize volunteer groups to maintain, repair, and improve facilities and opportunities at the park. We really don't have the ability to organize volunteer groups because of the liability that the city gets from having volunteers. So we would support the change to support groups or organizations that wish to promote stewardship of the park. Our accomplishments in 2023, we continued to support implementation of the recommendations from the Forest Management Plan that was adopted by the City Commission at the request of the city due to some operational issues and lack of staffing. We supported them in a temporary change in the walking hours. We had no vacancies on the committee in 2023. We've supported this city band's efforts to create a temporary stage in lieu of the decommissioned band shell. Supported a proposal for public art, commissioned a mural on the Moosewood facility. We supported city staff to conduct a traffic study. We supported city staff in enforcement efforts to reduce feeding of wildlife, and recommended changes to road closures for the annual salamander migration. Our goals for the upcoming year is to continue to discuss and support city staff on mitigation of safety hazards due to parking congestion, increased traffic, and general disregard of park rules or ordinances. We will continue to advocate for protection of the park and its resources. This includes updating the deer management plan, completing the deer census, also working to protect the blue-spotted salamanders during their spring migration, and continue to work with local partners for public education on leave no trace ethics and principles. I am vice chair. Our chair had been Tara. She tragically passed away in a car accident a couple months ago. She is a bright and shining light in our community, and I'd just like to take a moment to remember Tara. Thank you.
Okay. Dan, you may want to stay up there. Commissioners, any comments or questions for Dan? Commissioner Smith?
Just wanted to say thank you for your service on the important committee. I know Presque Isle is a really important place to all of us here in Marquette. Important to have rules in place that allow, you know, public access to that space long after we're all gone. So I appreciate the work you're doing to preserve that for future generations. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Schlegel.
Thank you, Dan. 21 years ago is when I cut my teeth on Presque Isle PIPAC, as they say, serving in my first capacity here in Marquette. And obviously it's because of what Presque Isle means to the community. It is the crown jewel. And I really appreciate everybody's efforts on this committee and all committees, but especially this one because it's one that's close to my heart. Tara was an absolute gem, truly a shining bright light, and did everything from the heart for Presque Isle, and I appreciate you recognizing that tonight. In regards to the number 3 change, where the volunteerism versus the encouragement for the betterment, I don't know, however it was worded there.
Support groups,
back in the day,
organizations.
we used to be able to actually have service organizations adopt a portion of that park, and maybe it has changed. I'm sure it has, because that's the direction that city staff has given you. But I certainly, you know, would encourage those organizations to still, you know, go there with however you want to word this, but encourage them to get involved, whether it's on their own to go and do a trash pickup or something like that within the parameters of cities' liabilities, I guess. But there were lots of organizations. I mean, we, as a junior Chamber of Commerce member, we took care of the old Bear's Den area for a number of years, putting in mulch and things like that. And it was a good little service to the community, and we always enjoyed doing it as a team building effort. But I would certainly, you know, continue to encourage, however, which way liability allows it to get those other organizations involved. Thanks for all your work.
Thank you.
Comments? Okay. Dan, thank you very much. I have a question, because I know that it's been a while that you've been working on signage at the park. I'm just wondering if you could give us an update on those kind of efforts.
So we worked on a redesign of a lot of the signs, and and then also a sign census to make sure we understood where all the signs were, because it's like, okay, we redesigned signs and we deployed them, but then what about the old signs? And it's my understanding that the new signs, including a couple of kiosks, are being installed like right now as of the last couple weeks.
Okay. So, thank you.
So yeah,
That-
there's
that will be
progress on
good.
the signs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm also curious about I'm trying to think, the arch that as you enter. I know that it was damaged and was being repaired. What's the status of that?
I think the arch is in place now. Yeah,
Is
we've
it
got
back
it
in
up
place?
there.
And I
Yep.
haven't noticed. Okay. All right, good. Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation and for your work on the committee. It sounds like you've got some vacancies coming up April 1st. This is a great committee for people who want to step into some of the government roles, the city government roles, and hopefully we can recruit some additional members for you real soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, we have a consent agenda in front of us. May I have a motion? Commissioner Ottaway.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second? Commissioner Smith.
Second.
And discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We have two new business items. The first one is Mayor Davis's travel reimbursement, and the city clerk may have the background on that.
Mayor Davis attended the annual Michigan Municipal League Capital Conference held in Lansing, Lansing, March 12th and 13th, 2024. The following check will be issued for travel expenses incurred. Mayor Davis, check number 5835A in the amount of $758.32. Fiscal effect, total travel costs are $758.32. Accurate funds are available within the fiscal year 2024 City Commission travel budget. Recommendation, approve the travel reimbursement for Mayor Davis in the amount of $758.32 for the Michigan Municipal League Capital Conference. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Commissioners, may I have a motion? Commissioner Larson.
I move that we approve the travel reimbursement for Mayor Davis in the amount of $758.32 for the Michigan Municipal League Capital Conference.
Second. Pro Tem Hanley.
I second.
Okay, comments?
Only that these conferences are, important to, members of the commission and the mayor to kind of get an idea of what is happening around the state with other cities and municipalities, and that I think it's, an important use of, the dollars that we have here, and acceptable to reimburse Mayor Davis for that event.
Thank you. No
Thank
comment?
you for going.
Okay, just a quick comment, as we said, it's CapCon, but that means Capital Conference, and our city manager and I both went down there, and it gives us an update on the legislation that is active at the state capitol. We got to meet with our state legislators, and it's a very helpful conference in knowing what direction our legislators are taking and what we can do to encourage or discourage the upcoming legislation. So thank you. And this is a motion. We have a motion and a second. I will be recusing myself or abstaining from voting on this because it affects me. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? And the motion carries 6-0. Okay, our next new business is the Presque Isle Band Shell. And City Clerk, may I have some background on that?
The city's band shell at Presque Isle Park has served the Marquette community since the 1930s and has been decommissioned after exceeding its useful life. In 2023, the City Commission approved naming the next band shell the Peg Herbinen Band Shell. The Herbinen Foundation has provided $100,000 in funding towards the professional design and services for the facility, and this expense was included in the approved fiscal year 2024 budget. Staff advertised a request for proposal and on February 14th received 4 qualified bids. 1, Sanders Chapsky Associates of Marquette, $64,500. 2, Studio Rad LLC of Marquette, $96,500. 3, Driven Designs of Battle Creek, $85,000. 4, AWH Architects LLC of Minneapolis, Minnesota, $99,760. Staff found all 4 proposals to be substantially complete and evaluated them based on the following criteria: relative experience of personnel, experience in designing outdoor performance venues, project management experience, cost, references, and office location. AWH Architects LLC of Minneapolis, Minnesota was the highest scoring proposal, primarily due to their extensive experience with performance venues and attention to lighting and acoustic design elements. Staff has worked with AWH Architects LLC and the city attorney to develop a standard professional services contract. Fiscal effect: this expense is included in the fiscal year 2024 budget and offset by the revenues provided by the Herbinen Foundation. Recommendation: award the bid for the design services and construction oversight of the Presque Isle Band Shell to AWH Architects LLC of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the contract. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Commissioners, may I have a motion? Pro Tem Hanley?
I move that we award the bid design for services and construction oversight of the Presque Isle Bandshell to AWH Architects LLC of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the contract.
And do we have a second? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Okay. Pro Tem Hanley, comments?
No, it looks like they were very well scored. I like the fact that we took into account their experience in doing this beforehand, not just the cost. It's nice to have all that extra stuff in there, so it's good to see this.
Okay. Commissioner Ottaway?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that we're kind of following the lead of staff here and what we think is the best band shell. Not necessarily the lowest bid. It's also going to be the most, what we believe is the highest performing band shell based off of the experience of the designer who seems to have built some pretty awesome things in the past. So I'm excited to see what they come up with.
Okay. Other comments from the commission? Okay, I am very excited about the band shell moving forward because it seems like it's been several years that we've recognized we needed one, and then we found out it was unsafe and had to have a temporary one, and I was so worried that it would be several more years before we were able to find a way to fund this, and I'm very grateful to the Herman Foundation for coming forward, and I feel pretty confident that our community will be able to raise the remaining money for this particular project, so I'm really pretty excited about this. Now, with my comments, I will take the vote. All those in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And we will move on to our second public comment period. Those wishing to comment, please step up to the podium. You have 3 minutes. Give us your name and address.
Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street. I'd like to address the two people who spoke about the BLP situation with the fiber optic line. I'm a member of the Board of Light and Power. We have a meeting tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. in the Board of Light and Power building.
Oh,
You're more than
Margaret, would you speak to us? This is your time to speak to us, not to the audience.
The microphone's not working.
Yes, it is.
Hello? Okay. Sorry, it turned off when I was talking before.
It was.
Okay, I'm speaking to the room. The Board of Light and Power has a meeting tomorrow at 4:30 on Wright Street. We have public comment, and we would welcome anyone coming to talk to us about this situation. I'm a member of the Board of Light and Power now for some time, and I had not heard of this discussion, so I would welcome the people who came here to come to that meeting to talk to us as well, since it appears that it is part of a general concern about the old, I want to say the old power plant, but it's not there anymore. So the former old power plant. Anyway, that was number one. Number two, next week, Tuesday at 6 p.m., I will be re-giving my presentation on the history of the Cliffs Dow Chemical Company in a room at Peter White Public Library. This is a presentation I put together several years ago for the benefit of some new people on the commission who are not familiar with the plant or the history thereof. Recently, we got the news that the state will not be taking the property over for the new Veterans Administration Hospital, so that goes back to why and what's going on. And I just added 2 or 3 more slides to my presentation because it's a living, breathing history document. I told myself I was going to turn it into a book at some point in time, but to have a book, you have to have an end, and I just don't think we have an end to that yet. So that'll be free next Tuesday at 6 p.m. in the Shiras Room of the Peter White Public Library. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Dan Labar, 3050 Island Beach Road, Marquette. I just want to encourage the commission when you're engaging with this firm from Minneapolis for the bandshell that you consider the overall character of the existing bandshell and the island, and that we don't get some huge gaudy obnoxious thing. That I think that, you know, keeping the dimension similar to the existing bandshell and keeping the character of the building in line with the long history and emphasis on nature in the park is probably best practice. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Good evening. My name's Cameron. My address is here in
Cameron, do you
Marquette.
have a last name?
Smith.
Okay, thank you.
Cameron Smith, 503 Garfield. I wanted to thank you for this opportunity, but your service to our community and your traveling down to speak with our legislators. I know one of the last times we spoke, I was talking about the importance of education and communication. And recently, I know it passed through the Senate Committee on Education was a bill about dyslexia. And I guess I wanted to take some of this time to thank you for consideration of the education system and the advancement of programs, systems, and technology that better educate those with disabilities. I think it will make a profound impact for our community here, and I think you lead the UP in many ways as an example that could be emulated by others. So thank you for that.
Anyone else for public comment?
Hi again, Commissioners. I'm Brooke Tharp. I live at 1402 Woodland Avenue in Marquette. I forgot to add something to my previous statement, so I'm going to finish it now. I think that we need some sort of rent control in the community, and it's a little difficult to do because the state of Michigan has a rule that prohibits local governments from setting rent control, to my understanding. But I think it would be helpful if the commissioners got together to think of a creative way to still establish some sort of rent control, rather than whether that's taxing any rent that goes above fair market value or something like that. I think there's creative ways to get around that, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else? Okay, seeing no additional persons wanting to do public comment is now closed. And we will move on to comments from the commissioners. And I'm going to start with you, Pro Tem Hanley.
Thank you. I'm going to use my time today to read the proclamation that we had in our consent agenda today for Strengthening Families Month. Whereas more than 600,000 children are abused in the U.S. each year, and whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone, and whereas our children are our most valuable resources and will shape the future of the greater Marquette area, and whereas child abuse can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for survivors of abuse during childhood, and whereas protective factors are conditions that reduce or eliminate risk and promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children, and whereas effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the partnerships created between child welfare professionals, education, health, community, and faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and families. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families. And whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. And whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. And now, therefore, the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Marquette does hereby proclaim April 2024 as National Strengthening Families Month in Marquette, Michigan, and urges all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children and families, dated this 25th day of March, 2024.
Commissioner Schlegel.
Thank you, Mayor. Kind of a, if you know me, you know I'm kind of off the rails oftentimes, but couple of things when I think of Marquette and I think of the UP, especially this time of year, I think of all the sports and stuff that's going on. And whether if it's Marquette or it's Negaunee, like the Negaunee girls basketball team that made it down to the finals, the Ishpeming girls team that won the title this past weekend, our own Dennis Stakowitz here from the planning side of things with the city has a group of wrestlers out of Gwin that went and performed incredibly well at state competition, with many kids placing out of a small program in Gwin. And I just, it's when I think of where we live and how lucky we are to live here and to see the UP come together during times like this, the old saying, UP power. Growing up in Menominee, we were always at the bottom of the UP, but we were still as important as Marquette was when they were as big as they were. And it just means we all support each other so much. And I'm really proud of that aspect every time this time of year comes around. I'm okay to throw it out the window when the regular competition of the season comes, when we're playing against each other, and hope that my team is going to come out on top. But when it comes to the playoff times, we should be all supportive and just really look back and say how great it is to see our programs up here in the UP go down and take it to those guys down below the bridge. So that being said, Cameron, to your point, thank you for bringing that up. It's very important. And I would think maybe we can get some direction from somebody smarter than myself, that maybe a group that you might want to talk with is SAIL, if I'm not mistaken, to help push that along. It's a very important topic, and we need to raise awareness at all times. I'm glad that you brought it up tonight. Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Smith.
We've had a real variety pack tonight, I feel like. I made a list here. Electricity/utilities via power lines, housing, clover for lawns and parks, state legislation, ban shell in the arcs, and then we've got parks. And that doesn't even include consent, but this is public government. This is government, right? This is what we're doing in our local city here. These are the things that are important to our residents, and I am grateful to those of you who came and spoke at public comment. I'm grateful to Dan, who came and presented for PIPAC, and to everyone who makes all of this happen behind the scenes, and the different organizations that contribute to make us who we are. I don't really have any profound thoughts other than I appreciate those who did speak today. I'll be thinking about your comments. I'm happy to help talk to you afterwards, but I'm happy to keep the conversations going. My one question for city managers, if maybe you could weigh in on the power lines, Lake Street question as to process next steps and how we as the commission might be able to help with that. Thank you.
Commissioner Larson.
Yeah, not too much tonight. Today being a kind of snowy, rainy day, we had spring break has kicked off, but my boys and I today, we took part in the United Way's Easter egg hunt across town, and so just some good wet snow fun today, and very difficult very difficult and tricky. So we'll be out there again tomorrow doing that. But certainly just a big thank you to the United Way for putting this onto the community. I know this this last year they had over 10,000 hours of volunteer time kind of attributed to their organization of volunteers across Marquette County, and so having some of these fun community events are one of those things that help make Marquette feel special, just like the rest of the commission here has certainly brought up this meeting and meetings past. So thank you to that.
Commissioner Mayer.
Thank you. I feel like we haven't been here in forever, and I know that's not true, but yeah, great that we finally got some snow today. I got about halfway through an igloo before my daughter got bored with that idea, but it was still good. Couple of quick things. Carrie, I just want to say I really appreciate, can't speak for the whole commission, but this one sheet is extremely helpful. I also wasn't really up to speed on this issue, so it's really appreciated, and every single line of it is very factual based, so I love that. I do want to mention, just while we still got our arts and culture and PIPAC peeps here, that I hope both groups have some are kind of actively involved, especially with the that stakeholder and public engagement process for the band shell. So we have a good idea of what that band shell could look like, but I believe in their proposal, though, they mentioned that they wanted to honor the cultural heritage of the indigenous people that used to live here, and still do, but I have no doubt that Keweenaw Bay Indian community, as a great partner for us, would continue to be involved with that. If someone could maybe suggest to them that also reaching out to the Sioux tribe, given that the last Ojibwe chief and one of the founding fathers, Marquette, is buried on the island and who was a Sioux tribe member, I would personally appreciate it. Last thing I want to say is, Brooke, I just appreciate you coming and continuing to advocate for affordable housing. So thank you.
Commissioner Ottaway.
I had a lot to say, but everything has already been stolen from me from you guys. So I'll just add to it, I guess. And, you know, basically, I've kind of seen a lot of familiar faces recently at a lot of meetings. I guess what I want to say is keep coming. Keep sharing your messages. Keep bringing them up in front of us, because they're being heard. And things are being talked about, you know, by commissioners, by the city manager. So don't think that you're being ignored if we don't, you know, get to you the next day or the next month or the next year. Showing up is big and it's huge. And, you know, as you can kind of see, that's how government works. So I appreciate you guys for that. One more thing, as Commissioner Larson said, with the Easter egg hunt, get out there, spend some time with your kids. I think it's awesome. I think kids have a lot of wonder with that. As somebody who's found a few eggs over the years, I can say it is fun. They do a great job with it, and I encourage you to get outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ottaway, you're right. Everybody stole things I was going to say, and Commissioner Smith said it best. It was just a real variety of comments from the community today, and that's really good. Brooke, this certainly isn't the first time you've been here, and I appreciate every time you come, because I know that it keeps the thoughts of affordable housing at the top of our list, and I appreciate your passion for finding affordable housing. I do want to remind people that we have approved, and we have a Black Rocks Crossing low-income housing coming, and I believe they're going to be starting this spring. Yep, and Mr. Stankovich said yes, so I'm anxious to see that come. And our city manager will address the Lake Street people, but you know, I've been to one meeting and I've talked to some of you folks fairly often, and I'm impressed with the grassroots effort of what you're trying to do, and I think that burying the lines will be of value to everybody who uses that street. And I didn't really pay much attention until you guys brought it to my attention, and I walked down that street and I saw the current poles are really in disrepair and are really ready to come down. So I hope that works for us real soon. Dan the Bandshell, you probably didn't have a chance to read the proposal from the people that we will be working with, but it seems to me that they're very in tune to presenting something that would work specifically for us, and as they have done for other communities. And if you have a chance, you might want to go to our agenda packet and take a look at that. And I hope that the PIPAC committee gets some involvement in how that moves forward. Margaret, thank you for continuing to educate the community on Cliffsdale. I think that you do a good service to our community, and it's always good to be more informed on things like that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, and really thank you to Carrie and to Ms. Yankee for coming. It is really great to see you guys again. I think, Lisa, you were the first one to come to me like maybe a year or so, 2 years ago almost, about this, and I think I kindly said, well, we don't have any extra funding for that, and you said, no, we are really raising a lot of funding. So I'm incredibly impressed with the efforts so far to really raise a significant amount of funding in a relatively short period of time. Carrie had done a wonderful job as summarizing everything here. It is a little bit difficult to kind of reiterate all of the details that have kind of come out over the past year. because it did come with BLP is looking to possibly bury their lines or move them. And then we did not realize that there were several other lines that were attached to those poles as well, which is great. But that means whoever's last on those poles is responsible for the maintenance of those poles. So at this point, if BLP is to leave or reroute and bury their lines, and then PFN as well, we would be then the last ones on those poles. So we would take over the cost to maintain those, which we are still looking into what that is. The project that we had, I think, been mentioning before in the city, redoing the lines for the fiber optic lines there is questionable of the timing of it, but it's also part of a much larger project, not just that section of project. So when we think about the capital money that is required to complete that larger project, it is significant, and it's not something that I can recommend to the commission at this time going forward without understanding how we would fund that at this point. So the things that we are looking into still here that the residents on Lake Street have been so patient and gracious to give me so much extra time, even though I've been promising them some update, which is we don't have an update yet, is looking at what that estimate would be if we did do a special assessment. A special assessment is for public improvements that benefit a certain area or specific neighborhood. Although this is looking at our utility, it is an improvement we would have to do that would benefit for the purpose of those residents. So it's an area we're still looking into, but being able to clearly communicate and set those expectations of what that would mean before we would bring that before the commission for a decision. We want to make sure we have that information, because I understand some residents are concerned about that and would be opposed to it and then would withdraw their efforts and their current capital that they have contributed. So we want to make sure we're providing that accurate information so they can make a decision based off of that. We are working as hard as we can on obtaining that information. However, it does involve several city departments, including assessing, engineering, IT, finance, and now my office. So we are making some progress on that. We are kind of narrowing down those questions and trying to get some estimates as soon as we can before we bring that before the commission. Part of the process for a special assessment district is coming before the commission, having the commission direct the city manager to look into that, to continue further going into those details and spending some more time on that. We may be getting to that point, whether we decide to continue going forward with a special assessment district or not, but that may be something I come back with the commission asking for some direction if we want to continue to invest city time on that. Otherwise, that might not be something we want to go down. If there are options to find alternative funding sources, we are exploring those, and we are aware of one that this may qualify for, but we would have to really make sure that we move quickly on that for the sake of the project, but also for the sake of the grant, and then making sure that that is truly one that meets the grant's purpose. Instead of making it work. But we're exploring all of those options so that we don't have to have any further cost burden on residents in that area or our own general taxpayers within the city. So special assessment is not one that we're in favor of. However, it's one that can get that done, which was the ultimate goal of getting us involved at one point. So. And their meetings that I attended were quite entertaining, actually. There's a lot of real neighborhood pride, friendly neighbors. It was really, they welcomed me with open arms. So I really appreciate it. It is though something that we're continuing to discuss. So speaking of BLP, there are some changes to how payments are collected with BLP. There used to be an option to pay your BLP bill here at City, and we are changing that. So please look for that information in a PSA or within your water or electricity bills as well for what your options are now to pay those bills. It is changing. It is changing for the better so that your bills are being recorded on time, and there's not an extra chance of something getting lost when we do collect things on behalf of the BLP. So just keep an eye out for that. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. And with that, this meeting has been concluded at 6:49 p.m.
Glad you brought up the band shell.